Hello and welcome. My name is Tara. I am an intuitive healer, guide, and specializing now in shadow work. And I want to talk about my journey here and something I have recently discovered, a little bit of a personal story, and really starting to develop more clarity as I go along through my own journey. But also when I go through these moments, I love to share it with you in hopes that it will inspire or maybe even offer some guidance for your transformative and healing journey. There was something that really came up for me recently over the last few weeks. And it hasn't been very new for me, but it's something that I had really pinpointed within myself that I really needed to work on, that I really needed to fine tune, that truthfully I've been trying to fine tune for many years. But it was honestly a shift in perception I feel that happened that made me look at this aspect of myself in a different light and gave me the ability to focus on the proper change for me to resolve it. And that has been struggle and suffering. And this was really actually quite interesting what happened over the last few weeks. I had a conversation with someone and I was saying that I feel like my purpose here on earth is to struggle. And I've been feeling it my entire life since I was very young, as far back as I can remember. I just felt the heaviness of suffering and depression, the weight of the world, the negativity, the despair. And I know this goes into past life as well. This energy that I've carried into this lifetime is old and it is heavy and it's dense and it is something that I've been trying to work through my entire life. Well, for most of my life, I didn't even really know what it was. I was just wallowing in it and I became that energy. I became that story. And that is very common for a lot of us to do. If we have very difficult lives, we can live in that story until we start to reach that place of not wanting to be in that story anymore. And that's what happened with myself. I just got to the point where I was done with it. I was tired of struggle and I was tired of, I've moved every 1 to 2 years in my life since I was 17 years old. Like I've been constantly trying to escape from one place to another without having the real tools to make the proper change. I've just been running. And trying to find one solution to solve another problem, going from problem to solution, another problem, trying to find a solution to band-aid fixes, and really not having the awareness within myself to understand that I was the problem and I needed to switch my mindset and to consciously be aware of where I was putting my energy and my attention, meaning that I was focusing too much on the negative. I was focusing too much on the sorrow, on the despair, but this was intrinsic. And this was something I was used to. I grew up around this energy mindset. It was around me my entire life. I was living in it. I was certainly part of that story. And again, this comes in from, who knows, it comes in from past life. It comes in from wherever. But the point is that we all have the choice to make the conscious choices of not giving our energy to situations that drain us or that limit us from rising to our full potential. This, for me, has been a long journey to figure this one out. There have been many layers to it. There have been many other ways of feeling it and experiencing it. And I feel that all the work that I've been doing leading me up to now has been chipping away at these layers and gaining new perspectives at all of the different aspects and feelings around struggle and suffering. And those are the two energies that I've been living within for I want to say the majority of my life. Now 46 years old, turning 47 years old. It's a long time. And that's why coming to this point in my life, I have really wanted to get away from that energy and not have it be part of my next chapter in my life. It has been an ongoing challenge for myself to overcome because I've been approaching it from so many different angles. But the most effective way that I have to communicate here is by understanding and trying to feel where I've been allowing myself to direct my energy towards, or allowing myself to fall into the thoughts and the emotions of despair, of negativity, of worry, of doubt, of lack, of fear, the old narratives that have been ruminating over and over and over again in my mind and within myself. This practice requires a lot of work and a lot of focus if you really want to get out of the struggle, right? It is not overnight. There are some days that are really difficult that I still go into. Not very often. I mean, if you've been catching my content, I'll sometimes come on and do a video like this and talk about where I'm at and what I've experienced and what I'm going through, and maybe some discoveries that I can share for you. But I feel that now I've really reached a point of a greater sense of enlightenment around this and awareness. And I am fighting to get out of it, meaning I am not, as soon as I notice my mindset going back into the wallowing or the fear or the negativity, I let it go. Just like that. It is constant. I will say for sure, a year ago, I was definitely a different person because of this work. It has required me to go back into my past and connect dots and to become true with my actions and my behaviors. It has also made me address my abandonment issues, where I've held on to a lot of pain and sorrow because of abandonment wounds that I did have to heal, which I have. But there are many different layers to this. And on a very subconscious level, and I've mentioned this before, and even on an ego-based level, when we become hurt or when we live in a time of suffering and pain and sorrow, despair, negativity, depression, we can really hold on to it because it can become very familiar. And I've mentioned this before as well, emotions can become very addictive. And so there are a lot of things playing out when we find ourselves in these downward spirals, or even just living in this energy or mindset. And so it can become very subconscious around becoming familiar and comfortable and creating a pattern around the story and behaviors and emotions and the belief system. And the subconscious is one of the most overlooked aspects within ourselves in spirituality, in the spiritual practice. A lot of it has to do with energy. A lot of it has to do with looking at your chart and understanding energy and doing the release work. But the subconscious is part of the shadow. And that's why I am so focused on this now, because this is a huge, huge aspect that is overlooked within spiritual community or healing community, because there are many aspects to even the subconscious on its own. There is the more surface level where we can start to do the discovery process on our own and start to uncover aspects within ourselves, our behaviors, our actions, our triggers, by understanding our past and connecting the dots. We can do some of that ourselves, but then there is a lot under the surface that we can't reach without help. We can't reach without going deeper into the very subterranean levels within our subconscious, within our core being. And those beliefs and memories and traumas and wounds do control us in very unconscious ways. They do influence our behaviors, our mindset, our belief system, our actions, without us even knowing, without us even realizing. And there have been moments too where I have done a lot of this work, a ton of clearing work, a ton of deep dive, shadow work, all this stuff. And I felt like I had done everything and I feel good and I know everything and I'm clear and I'm here, I've arrived. And then I go in it again. And it's a very humbling experience to go through, right? There are new lessons every time I go into the depths of myself, of life, of my subconscious, of my shadow. And every time I come back up and go through the change and the shift, I'm completely different. And I have a new outlook on my reality. And it keeps shifting and shifting and shifting. And I feel like I am coming out of this really, really, really dark chapter or part of my life, which has been, honestly, it's been the majority of my life. But I'm squeezing out of it now and moving into something far greater, and I can feel it. And I know it's closer and closer and closer as I move along, but it has been a lot of work. It has taken a lot of focus. So some of the main tips I can offer you here, without maybe working with someone, what you can do for yourself. anything to do with mindfulness techniques, really developing a closer understanding of yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your body, especially being aware of your subconscious patterns, how your feelings are influencing your behaviors, your actions, and your feelings towards yourself, your feeling towards others. Anything that can integrate the mindfulness techniques. So meditation, always hugely, hugely important. I meditate every morning for about 10 minutes before I get started with my day. Yoga is also very important. The soul, the body soul connection. You're really feeling into the body, connecting with the breath, connecting with yourself, creating that self-awareness. So a lot of these self-awareness, mindfulness techniques are very, very helpful for understanding your subconscious and going deeper into your practice. Shadow work that you can do for yourself is becoming really honest about the fears, the resistance to life, not wanting to let go, the art of letting go, the art of coming to terms, paying attention to our anger, our resentment, our guilt, our shame, being very gentle with ourselves through this process, not being hard on ourselves and not holding on to resentment of the past. Remember, stories in the past are done. They don't exist anymore, but we hold on to them because they created pain. And so the pain that has not been released or resolved will remain, and it remains attached to a past memory or a past experience that we need to let go of. We need to come to terms. And a lot of it is self-observation. It's observing our emotions, our mindset, especially our the anger, resentment, fear, for example, what's being triggered on a daily basis or weekly basis. And then of course, working with a specialist. And some of the work that I offer, for example, going into the subconscious, doing the release work, really deep embedded stuff that you can't reach, that I couldn't reach either. But the self-awareness is key. The mindfulness is huge. Don't be afraid to spend time by yourself. That's also very important. And also too, being aware of the ego versus your true authentic self. The ego is part of our identity, wants to show the world a side of us that's perfect or that we're proud of. It's not saying to go out in public and get angry at people or show the shadow side, which is truthfully the point of shadow work, is being observant to not project our shadow traits onto other people. But the ego also, if we've gone through something in life where we hold on to shame, for example, that could also morph into a very strong ego, strong sense of self, and a very strong story that we hide behind, that we want to project into the outer world, that we have a certain persona that creates this false reality around our identity or ourself. And so there are all of these layers, and there are so many layers to this. So it's just a lot about self-observation, really being keen and aware of yourself, and play with it, play with the energy, spend time by yourself, especially when you're going through challenges, when you're becoming triggered or you're going through a challenge. Those are the best moments to spend time alone and to go deep into it. And know that situations in your outer world are not what is creating the problem. So we can easily point fingers at situations in life, the pandemic, this person broke my heart, that person, or this or that. We can easily look at the outer world as the problem, but it's not. It is here. It is here. It's triggering things that exist within us, our fear. We can be at peace with a lot. And you can notice too, everyone responds to problems differently. Some people will fall apart, with a certain problem. Some people will rise above it, or they'll look at that challenge as an opportunity or to overcome it in a certain way, go into problem solving mode. Everyone deals with situations a little bit differently. And so it is a really great time, especially when you're dealing with challenges, to observe your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions and your belief system around that particular matter. And knowing that outside circumstances, relationships, people, pandemics, everything, they're outside situations that are showing you something about yourself that needs to resolve, that needs to heal, and that needs to be released. And you can change all of this if you want to. And it requires a great deal of inner strength and determination to break those cycles within. This is something I'm very familiar with. I've done a lot of work in this specific field, if you will. So I love talking about it as well. If you have any questions, just send me a note. I'd be happy to get back to you. All right, so I'm wishing you all the best with your transformative journey and beyond, and I will be seeing you very soon, and take care.